Good evening, guys. So I am on the streets of Charleston. I picked this particular street for a reason. A few years ago, David Gordon Green directed a direct sequel of Halloween, and this was one of the blocks that he turned into Haddonfield, Illinois for Halloween night, 40 years after the original. They had all kinds of Halloween decorations up. This is the house, the street that Laurie Strode's daughter and husband and granddaughter lived on, the Nelson house. But they had kids running around and everybody was trick-or-treating and all that. But it was a really cool idea that Danny McBride and his writing partners came up with to write a direct sequel to the original John Carpenter film from 1978. And they disregarded all the other sequels of the franchise. They did little nods to some of them in the dialogue and whatnot, but for the most part, it was as if there was only two movies, which was a pretty cool idea. And the movie was great, came out, made a ton of money. They'll be making another one soon. But this is where they filmed it, here in Charleston, South Carolina, or Haddonfield, Illinois, 2018. Anyway, so I'm going to take you around. We're going to go see some of the key filming locations of that movie. I'm really excited about it. I've never been here, and you can already tell being on the street, it's really creepy. So I hope you guys will come along with me and let's travel.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
So I'm going to start the location hunting off with where the movie opens up at. You can't get into the actual place because it's a school now, but it's called the Military Magnet Academy. But this courtyard you can still see right over here is where Michael Myers is chained to that block. And he is... This is where the podcasters are introduced, and the doctor escorts them out to that courtyard, and they go see Michael, and of course one of the journalists pulls out the mask, and he's yelling at him, "Say something!" Anyway, they filmed all that right there. Let's go check out the rest of them. Doesn't have an S, but it's close. There's another one. That one's got the S. It started raining suddenly, so I had to grab my umbrella. I'm still searching for the grave, but I think I may have found it.
Well, I got a cousin who works at a graveyard not too far from here. They got war generals, philanthropists.
In the Halloween sequel, this is where Judith Myers' grave was. You can actually see these two gravestones in the back of them from that shot I just showed you. Of course, the tree's still here, and George and Ann Wilson's grave, which has no relevance to the movie. It's an actual grave. But the two podcasters walk in that area. They walk from basically this way and then kind of loop around with the caretaker of the graveyard. There's an Easter egg in this scene. When they walk in up here, past that, there's a big gravestone here that says Sinclair. That's to stand in for the Mount Sinclair Cemetery that Judith Myers was buried at, and so many other people from all the Halloween sequels. Mount Sinclair Cemetery in Haddonfield, Illinois. Both are fictional, but the Sinclair gravestone sits there right at the opening of this scene.
Maybe you can explain to me what's so special about Judith Myers.
This is right where the podcasters sit down Judith's gravestone was right here in front of the Wilson grave. And they start describing the murder. It flashes back to the murder. And then, of course, they notice the caretaker who's standing behind them, watching them talk to their microphone. She just kind of looks over and notices someone's watching. So the shot that we cut to from the caretaker's point of view is basically right here. And as you can see, this branch has been freshly cut off the tree, but that's where Michael Myers was standing. I cheated it a bit closer, but the shot is of his over his shoulder. You see his head and his hands leaned against the branch, and he's looking down there as they sit talking at the gravesite of his sister, whom he killed 40 years before. Anyway, that's the tree he was standing at as he looked at them as they sat at the grave. This cemetery actually is probably one of the coolest cemeteries I've ever been in. It was opened in 1850. It's called Magnolia Cemetery here in Charleston. I think the most famous person it has was a Confederate engineer named H.L. Hunley, who developed the submarine for the Confederates during the Civil War. I believe he's buried here, but other than that, it's just a large cemetery that started interring people in 1850, and for about the next 60 years. So, rather impressive. Anyway, it's designed in the European style or Victorian style at the time, which had been in the late 1840s, of more of a park where you would come and have a picnic by a beautiful pond and also visit with your dead loved ones. So it's just very beautiful the way it's set up, and it's got these beautiful ponds and walking paths, and the graves are just ancient. They're just old, and they all have that very old East Coast grave look. I don't know, I'm kind of a cemetery fan. I like looking at old gravestones. I think the older they are, the cooler they are, but this is a very unique cemetery. They do ghost walks here. You'll have to get on the Magnolia Cemetery website for the information for that, but I've never done one myself, but I'll bet you they've seen some stuff, because even in the daylight, the 2 times I've been here in the daylight, it feels like it could be just filled with ghosts. But it's pretty awesome. I highly recommend coming to check out Magnolia Cemetery when you're in Charleston. These wrought iron fences are right out of a Tim Burton movie. So behind me is the next location. That is the gas station that's pretty pivotal in the movie. So the podcasters pull up to that pump, the inside of it. The female podcaster, I cannot remember her character name, is going through her research in the back seat, and the guy's filling up, and she decides to run in and go use the bathroom. So as she goes in, she puts the research back in the trunk next to the mask, and of course goes in, as where the bathroom is, goes around to the side there. So she walks around from the front there and goes into the last door. Now you'll notice, and the reason they did this, there was 2 fence posts right here with a lot of like lattice slid in there. But it came out and then it came around the front as if it was kind of giving privacy. And it was in a way, but they put that in intentionally so that they could film the interiors of the bathroom at a sound stage. Because you go into these bathrooms, they're just a single toilet, standard gas station bathroom. And anyway, so they put that up for the movie and then took it down right after. But once she goes in the stall, you know, Michael is here.
Excuse me, somebody's in here.
What's cool is you actually see Michael out of focus when, at the beginning of the scene, when they're filling up at that pump right there, there's a truck being worked on out at the corner there by that white post with the yellow top, right over there. And Michael pulls right next to it. And you see him get out in his white scrubs basically and go over to the guy. We don't know what happens, but we assume he kills him. And of course he goes inside and kills all the gas station attendants, you know, hardworking fellas. Didn't really ask for it, but they get killed anyway. I think the real horror of this entire scene is the fact that the female reporter has to get on her belly and climb through the splash zones of not one but 3 dirty gas station toilets. Truly horrifying. So once he's done killing everyone at this gas station, he comes back over to the car sitting right here with the trunk's open. He opens it, and this is the first time we see Michael put the mask back on in 40 years. Assuming that we still act like none of the sequels happened. All happened right there.
Fear and hatred of one another. Yeah. Could it be that the only hope of rehabilitation is through conflict?
So behind me, this is the entrance they used for the movie. This is where the 2 investigative journalists that are they're making the podcast about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, they pull in, and this real like strong gate, which by the way is still here. I'm assuming they put it in for the movie because it doesn't match anything else around here, and then they just left it. So you can still see the brick outlines in the movie of the former gate that were right there. They're still leaned open. But yeah, the big fence meant to keep out the raptors in Jurassic Park. That's how big it is. It's still here. So they pull in. There was a call box right around here. They pull up and Laurie says yes, and he tries to talk his way in, and then his partner ends up saying, how about for $3,000? And then gate rolls back, and they go on up the driveway. And it actually leads up to the house, amazingly. You would think it'd be 2 different locations. So this scene is right on the street, right outside of Laurie's gate. Okay, so the 2 cops are sitting here talking about what they're eating. And they see Hawkins pull in down there and stop. They don't quite understand, so they go investigate. Of course, Hawkins is already dead. Michael Myers is killing his doctor, and Allison is getting away up there. They pull up, and then, of course, they get killed as well, leading to the great scene with Ray, played by Toby Huss, in the front yard, where the one cop is holding the other cop's head like a jack-o'-lantern. Which is a great scene. So. But they filmed that all right on the street. The street is closed off now. I'm assuming it was for the movie as well, but they made it look like it was open. But this also was able to control the set that way. They didn't have to worry about cars coming back and forth or even closing down a road. It's all on private property, so they were able to get it closed. So it's pretty cool. So this is the front door. They would have stood right here when they were knocking. And she, of course, unbolts the door, the big bar, and then opens it, and there's still a giant screen door in the way. Since this is the last known place that Michael Myers has been, he's probably still in here. So this is the scene where they're all sitting when the podcasters come in. It's all nice and made up. Jamie Lee Curtis, this is our big reveal and introduction to her for the film. But she's sitting there talking to the podcasters before she tells them to get out. It's just a darkened hallway. No big deal. I believe this was Allison's room when she was a child. So the dollhouse would have been sitting in that corner. But this is definitely one of the rooms she clears as she's going through it. And she comes out after she checks each one, hits those boxes on the walls with the buttons. Well, you know, if this place is haunted, I'm definitely just throwing caution to the wind. Oh, I've still got some of the grating on the outside of the windows. That's cool. They left it. And then she backs out after she cleared it. Hits the button, and the gate. Front door's leaned. Okay. Oh man. You can tell that's from production. It says no, not niet. That means production toilet. Don't be using it. Ah, electrical department left some conduit and some wire. It says box 319, exterior farmhouse, flexible conduit from roof and tree lights, which would be those super bright lights she turns on. Security lights. Oh, I see we had some black flagging on the windows. No big deal. Oh man, this is so cool. It's neat. Very neat. I'm nervous about the floor, if I'm being honest with you. We have more of that fire from around in here. Most likely what they did was start the fire with their controlled burns and then use just for a shot and then add in digital fire to make it like engulfed. But just the little bit of flames that they did definitely left their mark. They filmed Halloween in here. Now, it'd be even cooler if it was the original Halloween. But since it's a direct sequel to the original, it's still pretty cool. Either way, Jamie Lee Curtis, Toby Huss, all stood in this room. Judy Greer, actress that played Allison. I apologize, I don't know. Man, it's pretty neat. It's literally untouched. They got done filming, took all their stuff out, except for the electrical department. You're penalized. And that was that. It's been sitting here empty ever since. So, we're in the kitchen. Kitchen's really cool because this is really where the climax of the movie is revealed. But it's pretty large. It's got a little dining room, like sunroom area, and then the kitchen. But the really cool part is there is the fallout shelter. Or if you've seen the movie, you know it as a trap.
Mom! Grandmother? Baby. Mom, he's coming. Come on. Where's Grandmother? Come on.
So the big bar or island area for the kitchen stood right here. And I believe it was on this wall was the screens, all the security cameras, screens, everything, and they had the remote sitting on the desk. They would click it, and this thing would turn, revealing this staircase, which they've clearly just put a board and screwed that over it. And yeah, it's right there. There was just some stairs under. They did film the basement stuff at a soundstage, but they had enough so that you could see the actors run down into it. And then they just covered it up as soon as they were done. And it's still here. Oh, so here's a cool little detail from the art department. You see this phone on screen when Michael comes into the kitchen, but what you don't see that's out of focus is, like any grandparent, Laurie had written important numbers right on the wall above the phone. Notice the number one indicator of any movie phone number, the prefix of 555. Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers fought all the way through this kitchen, slamming into stuff, grabbed the kitchen knife, stabbing him. That all happened right here. And technically, just saying, because the last image of Michael we see is in that hole, they really just put a board over him. So if you took that off, theoretically, Michael's still there. Behind me, as I turn my back on him, stupidly. It's like I've never seen a horror movie. It's pretty neat. It's all still right here. They filmed this only about 3 or 4 years ago, so it's not crazy that it's still right here, but the area around it, this is farmland, but the area around it is covered in industrial buildings and huge warehouses, and they all look very new. So there's a good chance that this property is probably not going to last much longer, at least. Well, that does it for me. If you're new here, then please subscribe. That will keep you up to date on all my adventures. And if you click that notification bell, you will be notified each and every time I post another exciting video. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a thumbs up and let me know your favorite part in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time on Sets, Streets, and Eats.